let's go, let's go.
2 months ago, Six Flags dropped a survey for all their guests to rate park experience like usual. And sometimes in typical Six Flags fashion, they decided to also ask their guests what ride they would like to see next in their parks. And specifically for Six Flags Over Texas and Arlington, Texas. Leaked from a post online, these choices are absolutely insane. Regardless, this is huge for the park and could possibly hint that maybe one of these ideas could become a reality. And in today's video, we're taking a look at these three concepts and decide which one will be the best fit for Over Texas. Before we get started though, if you're new here, welcome to the channel for all those thrill seekers. On JB Thrills, we make all sorts of content related to theme parks and thrill rides no matter where they're located. And specifically for those Texas enthusiasts, this is your #1 source of all Texas theme park news. So if any of that interests you, be sure to like button, subscribe, and tap notification bells to know when new videos come out on my channel. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. So small disclaimer, this news isn't necessarily new and it's been out for 2 months now. But you can't lie, it's very interesting. And I know without a doubt those Over Texas fanboys are staying up at night thinking about these additions. But anyways, to catch you up, in this survey, Six Flags Over Texas dropped 3 possible coaster ideas to maybe come to the park. This isn't by any means confirmed, and for all we know these coasters might not even make it to the cut. After all, surveys are just surveys. Their intended purpose is just to get your feedback as a customer and let the higher ups know exactly what the guests want. Not necessarily what they're actually going to do. But it's still very intriguing options to look at, and in case they genuinely choose one of these options, we should definitely take a deep dive on these concepts and see which one best fits the park. Not to mention, if Over Texas maybe watches this video, they'll see the video, they'll see your comments, and these concepts could now become potential new rides. Anyways, here are the 3 options. Posted from Reddit user Cabana, the options include number 1, a B&M Giga dive coaster. Yes, you heard that right, a Giga but a dive coaster. Meaning a B&M dive that's over 300 feet, making it the world's tallest dive coaster. Out over Texas, wild. Number 2, an indoor coaster. Yes, despite having one currently, this one will definitely stand out from a typical runaway mountain. Promised to have highly themed elements and possibly being immersive. It's no joke. Lastly, option 3 is a family coaster. Picture something like Good Gravy at Holiday World or the new kiddie coaster at Knott's, and it's something like that. And while yes, it's a family coaster, it is a bigger version of one, and is still pretty new for Over Texas. So from these 3, let's talk about them individually, starting with the Giga. The concept in general of a Giga coming to Over Texas is absolutely insane, not to mention a Giga dive. We've never seen a Giga B&M dive before, and this one will become the world's first. The fact that Cedar Fair / Six Flags is even considering it means that at least my previous predictions of Over Texas getting a B&M Giga is starting to sound more plausible. Yes, it's not that Fury 325 that we wanted, but clearly Cedar Fair or Six Flags sees potential in Over Texas, and to even have the idea of adding this humongous coaster here at Over Texas is a really positive sign for the park. But there is a downside, it's a dive. Don't get me wrong, compared to most enthusiasts, I generally love dive coasters. They're super fun, and even though many consider them one-trick ponies, there's many ways to get a dive coaster right. Either adding unique elements, lots of inversions, stacking up the height, and of course theming. I've only ridden one dive coaster, and that's Dark Diabolical's Cliffhanger at Fiesta Texas, but it's definitely one of my favorites. Even though it's not as high compared to other B&M dives, the themed soundtrack, the whole theming in general, and a little bit of hang time you get after the inversion is something that makes me really like this attraction. And the second dive coaster coming to Six Flags chain, Wrath of Rakshasa, at Six Flags Great America, is honestly amazing as well. Of course, many had mixed opinions, but in my opinion it's a really decent addition for the park, and they're getting really unique with the dives. Clearly a trend is starting to make dive coasters more fun besides the drop, and if that trend continues, a B&M Giga dive would be something out of this world. But here's the main issue. Just about 3 to 4 hours down south, you have Fiesta Texas with what I just mentioned, Dark Diabolical's Cliffhanger. Meaning Over Texas would have a dive coaster just a few hours away from each other, and to the general public it just seems like the same coaster. Us as coaster enthusiasts will see the big difference in it being a Giga, but to everyone else it'll seem like a copy attraction. But I still remain a little bit optimistic because a B&M Giga is still very different from Cliffhanger, and it definitely has to have a longer layout. The other main concern is space. Most people say Over Texas does not have that much space, but I tend to disagree. If the park thinks creatively and also has a custom layout, they could definitely fit this B&M Giga coaster. And one potential spot is the abandoned Music Mill Amphitheater in the back of the park, which actually has been rumored to hold a dive coaster for years now. The apparent rumors that the dive coaster is supposed to be located right next to the freeway and hanging over the edge facing the highway, giving the illusion that you're going to fall into the highway, not that you actually go under it. The inversion will happen right after, pulling you away out at the last second, and the layout will be towards the parking lot behind Texas Giant. To be honest, I could see it there, and it would open up the whole area behind Shockwave, attracting more guests into the very abandoned part of the park. They could even go all out and make the entire area between Shockwave and that new dive coaster a whole new themed land, with new shops, maybe some small flat rides, and finally drawing more crowds to the very back of the park. Like I said, potential, but overall it comes down to how Over Texas uses this dive coaster and its space. If I were to rank how much I want to see this concept become a reality from 1 to 10, I would give it a 7. It's a really great concept, but the park could get better, especially if they truly want to stand out. Would I complain if we got it? Absolutely not. But again, we need to think bigger. The fact that Six Flags is considering adding an indoor coaster to Over Texas is actually very interesting. If you've never been to Over Texas or don't already know, the park already has an indoor coaster by the name of Runaway Mountain. The coaster is more of a family ride. It doesn't really have much theming besides the outside of the coaster. Inside is just complete darkness, with the occasional Fright Fest overlays or the Holiday in the Park overlays. The thing is, this indoor coaster will actually take a very different turn than Runaway Mountain. Instead being a highly themed attraction, and in the screenshots from Reddit, the park uses the stock image of Mommy the Ride at Universal Studios, which is a highly themed dark coaster. To be honest, I don't know how Over Texas will pull this off. We've never seen a highly themed indoor coaster in any of the Six Flags parks. This would definitely be a first for any of the Six Flags chains. Is it unique? Absolutely. In fact, it's a lot more unique than the B&M Giga Dive. The problem is the execution. In the concept photos besides Mommy the Ride, we have some possible renderings with Gerstlauer trains, to me looking very similar to Hang Time on Knott's Berry Farm. And then because of that, it got me thinking. One of my favorite indoor coaches that I've ridden is Mystery Mine at Dollywood, and if you haven't ridden it yet, you absolutely have to. From the bop of a soundtrack that they have, to the amazing theming and surprises, this coaster is an absolute winner. And in this concept, Six Flags labels the coaster as indoor/outdoor coaster, similar to Mystery Mine at Dollywood, which has indoor show scenes and an outdoor layout. Then you have the Gerstlauer trains that are known for typically being a vertical lift hill or dive, and essentially what it leads me to believe is that Six Flags wants a Mystery Mine-esque attraction for Over Texas. And it perfectly makes sense. Over Texas still has its original Texas charm, even though bits of it have been stripped away. Maybe Cedar Fair wants to reinstall that and make Over Texas like a modern Knott's Berry Farm. If that's the case, a western indoor attraction that contains a vertical lift hill, vertical drops, and surprises like Mystery Mine would totally be a great fit for Over Texas. The concept also will have surprise moments of switch tracks, I'm assuming drop tracks, maybe a reverse section, or even some launches. And if that's the case, this is the perfect ride for Over Texas. If it's truly highly themed like Six Flags says, then it will work perfectly. Now here comes the cons. If this coaster does actually happen in reality, that means Runaway Mountain's on the chopping block, and it'll be a very sad coaster to leave. I've had lots of fond memories of Runaway Mountain, and every day that coaster continues to be very packed, especially on rainy days. Now, trigger warning for the Over Texas fanboys, but hear me out. If Runaway Mountain were to get taken out for this new indoor coaster, I'd actually be excited. Yes, it's sad to miss Runaway Mountain, but a new highly themed attraction that has 10 times more theming than Runaway Mountain, has way better capacity, maybe has some inversions, and so much more. Yeah, this is definitely better than Runaway Mountain. Not to mention, I've been saying for years that Runaway Mountain does need a facelift. This coaster has lots of potential and they can add lots of theming into the ride. They've recently revamped the animatronic alligators on the queue line, but that's just about it. Back in the day, this coaster had lots of theming, from a running waterfall to an animatronic miner that would come outside the ride. But maybe it's just a lot of work, so why not start fresh? Pull a fire in the hole and reboot this attraction with a brand new coaster. Not to mention its wild Texas weather, we now have a high capacity indoor coaster that'll be so fun to do over and over and over again. Plus, like I said with the B&M Giga, if they add this coaster, it might mean a revamp for the entire Johnson Creek section, and I would love to see it. It's another dead zone in the park, and finally we'll get some more foot traffic and maybe some high theming around the area. Plus, I could totally see them rebooting Runaway Mountain and keeping that mountain theme, but with a brand new coaster and pieces of the track just sticking out of the mountain. So rating this coaster of how much I want to see it in reality, from 1 to 10 I give it an 8.5. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty exciting addition, and while it's not the icon coaster that we need for Over Texas just yet, it's a step in the right direction and could turn Over Texas into the next Knott's Berry Farm, which is a phenomenal theme park that Cedar Fair is running. So Cedar Fair, take notes. Last but not least, we have the Family Thrill Coaster. For some reason, Over Texas has this trend to typically focus on families, And I kinda get it. In the next few years, a lot of new family theme parks are opening up, from a Peppa Pig theme park opening up in North Richland Hills to a literal Universal Kids theme park opening up in Frisco, Texas. Over Texas got competition, and I can't lie. This is exactly why this year the park focused on a whole new expansion in Bugs Bunny Boomtown with new rides. It's also why they added a dino overlay to their Chaparral T-cars, and it's why they invested a lot of money into Hurricane Harbor to add an entirely new kid zone with lots of water slides. They want to compete and stay relevant. Now, does Over Texas have good stuff for families? I 100% agree. In fact, I feel like Over Texas is really more family geared compared to other Six Flags parks. The advantage this park has is the ability to work yourself up on rides, starting from small kiddie coasters to family coasters to moderate thrill, and of course the extreme. Most theme parks seriously lack in this area, and Over Texas got really ahead of it. So does Over Texas need another kiddie attraction? Not exactly. But this family thrill coaster is definitely very intriguing, as in the concept this coaster will apparently be named as the longest family coaster on Earth, contain 3 launches, it's 55 miles per hour. Oh, not to mention it's a boomerang. So again, picture good gravy at Holiday World, and just make it longer and have more terrain themed elements. Again, back to the Dollywood comparison, an essential Big Bear Mountain for Over Texas, but instead going backwards. And I kinda like this idea. The biggest con is the space. I don't know where this coaster would go, to be honest. I do have a few places in mind though. We do have that abandoned area by Gotham City where Harley Quinn used to stand, and Gotham City is definitely considered a high thrill area, as there's not much stuff for the families to do in this area. There's lots of extreme spinning rides and extreme coasters with only Batwing to satisfy the younger guests. I've been seeing any more family attractions in that area, and a kiddie coaster or family coaster by Harley Quinn could make sense. And if it's terrain based with some theming, I'm assuming, we could have a really nicely themed Gotham City coaster for the families, and the fact that it goes backwards like Mr. Freeze makes this coaster a mini version of Mr. Freeze, and I think it's really funny, but also great for the younger audiences to feel that backward experience, preparing them for Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast when they get taller. And if it's like Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood with some onboard audio, I could totally see a family coaster themed to a Gotham City Escape, or Police Chase, or Batmobile, or whatever, containing DC music, show elements, maybe even animatronics of the villains. Overall, it can get really creative. The other potential zone is in the Texas section right by Titan, giving a mini Titan coaster themed to the Wild West. Again, 2 perfect zones that don't take up a lot of space, and this coaster would definitely fit there. The main con though is if we do get this coaster, we'll have to experience another 6-year drought for a major thrill ride in Over Texas, and the Over Texas fanboys are not going to like that at all. We seriously need a big deal attraction for the adults, as they are the ones that are spending the money. Of course, families do bring in more revenue, but if you want to bring more of that family revenue in, just upgrade what we already have. More family events, shows, entertainment, and the enhanced theming of Bugs Bunny Boomtown will draw in those guests. So was this new coaster necessary? No, but it is a great idea. For my rating, I give it a 5. A good ride, but if we got it next year, it wouldn't go over well for the coaster enthusiasts. But anyways, those are the 3 concepts that Over Texas put out on their survey leaked out from Reddit, and again, take it with a huge grain of salt. This by no means confirmed attractions or hints for the next few rides. It's just a survey. At any moment, Over Texas can scrap all 3 of these ideas and give us a completely different attraction. Overall, it's just to see our opinions on the rides, and hopefully this video can be used for reference, or give you a better understanding of what possibly Over Texas could get in the next few years. And on that topic, what do you think Over Texas is going to get in the next few years? Are these 3 concepts a good idea, and what's your favorite? And if you have a completely different idea, I would love to hear your comments down below. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to support by hitting the subscribe button down below and help me reach my 10,000 goal by the end of the year. Thank you for watching, and this is JB Thrills signing out.